And now we're ready for part 3 of spinnerbaits. You ready to run and gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. Part 3 of spinnerbaits. I thought I would just basically go over the meat and taters of my spinnerbaits, the ones that see just about all the action over the next few weeks, because I'm going to explain each one of them individually, when to use them, when not to use them. And to start off, again, all of my baits, they have nickel blades. I don't worry about gold, copper, colored blades. Yes, they have their place. I just prefer not to mess with it. I'd rather have a simple blade choice. I use 4 different kinds. I use single thumpers, double Colorados, tandem Willa, and double Willa. I would honestly have to say probably double Willa gets the least amount of use, just because there's a lot of torque there. They always say that Willa blades don't create a lot of torque. Yeah, throw the diamond blade, see what happens. It'll run your boat like a trolling motor. I still stick with 5 colors. I still stick with chartreuse and white, chartreuse and lime, chartreuse, lime and white. I also use chartreuse and blue and black. It's only 5 colors I use. And these are kind of mixed around a 3/8 to a half. There might be even some 5/8 mixed in there. But if I do have 5/8 of the older school, the old type heads like that, which I use, that's a 1/2 ounce right there. But to me, they all still kind of run the gamut. I do have 2 different blacks, which I'll explain why I have those. And chartreuse and white to me is a clear water spinnerbait. Now I have gotten some emails, and I've also gotten some comments on, don't you use white? Don't you use chartreuse? Well, I've used white in the past. I've used chartreuse in the past. But when it comes to these rubber skirts, since they're not translucent, they're very bold and solid, I like to have a multicolored skirt, like chartreuse white, or my all-time favorite, chartreuse lime and white. It's just that as this rubber is moving through the water, it's giving off all these different colored hues. And that's why I like to use them. Chartreuse and blue. It's got a lot of hues going on as that skirt's moving, and that's the only reason I use them. It just kind of makes it hard for them to really identify what it is, especially in muddy water. I've got chartreuse and lime, one of my favorite muddy water colors. Clear water or dirty water, or even low light conditions, black is a great color to use. And in clear water, I would use that, but without any kind of a plastic trailer, just the skirt by itself. Kind of like how I use this one. The chartreuse and white hardly ever gets a trailer, hardly ever. So when do you use these? Well, a single thumper is probably the most versatile spinnerbait you can throw. I mean, it'll do it all. It'll fish shallow water, fish deep water, fishes in cover. You can buzz it, you can crawl it, you can hop it, you can let it free fall, work it like a jig. It's a very versatile bait. And it also produces, like I said in the last video, it produces the strongest thump of any of the spinnerbaits you can throw, because there's no front blade to interfere with the vibration factor. But now it doesn't mean that a double bladed bait doesn't have a vibration, because it does. But a single thumper just seems to have the most. Now, when particularly do I use these? Well, like I said, if it's clear water, I will use chartreuse and white. If you have a low light condition, say a rainy day, or something like that, these are probably the 2 right here I'll go with. But a lot of times, if you have a little bit of off-colored water, we're talking 2-3 foot of visibility, maybe a little bit more, a lot of times I'll throw these 2 right here and just see which one they rather have, the chartreuse and blue or the chartreuse lime and white. That's how I choose those colors. As far as the black, like I was getting ready to say, with black I have 2 of these. I have a 3/8 with a Colorado on it. It's a standard 3/8 deal. This is a 1/2 ounce, that I found that actually has the teardrop, the longer teardrop blade, kind of like an Indiana almost, but it's a longer teardrop. And it's also a slightly bit bigger than the Colorado on the black one. Now for this 1/2 ounce with this kind of blade, this is going to run a little bit deeper. So if you got low light conditions, I can run this sucker down 10 feet, 5 feet, however I want to fish it down. And it has that kind of blade that's going to give me a lot deeper run than, say, the 3/8 that has the bigger Colorado. Well, not the bigger Colorado, but just has a Colorado on it. This bait's going to ride up higher in the water column than this one. And if you guys ever thrown an Indiana blade, you know what I'm talking about. Because you can keep it down, keep it out of sight. And that's one of the reasons I would use that. It just has more flash, and I can get it down and kind of flutter it, as I've spoken before, where this one's going to ride a lot higher in the water column because of this Colorado blade. That's the way all these are. But ironically, with this chartreuse and white that I've got here, I have the smallest Colorado blades of all of mine here. Now, this is still a 4. Okay, so this is still a number 4 size. The rest of these have number 5s. Or I would call it number 5. They really didn't give sizes to these diamond blades when they came out with them. But that to me is more of that. This to me, if you go for normal size, that's either a 6 or a 7 size Indiana blade. So you can see that's a pretty good size little blade. And again, let me hold these two together so you can kind of get an idea what I'm talking about as far as size. See a difference in the size? Especially in the length. The length is a lot different too. See that? So that's the only reason I keep this in the black. And not only that, I just happened to find it like that out of the package and just loved it. I just thought it was really cool. So I just went ahead and added it to this one because I could see a use for this. The single bladed spinnerbaits are really good in brush. If you fish a lot of grass, they're really good around grass. It's just one blade. And you can kind of pump that thing along, especially if you're fishing heavy cover, say you got brush piles laid everywhere like I get on the river a lot of times, or if you have grass and there's a hole there, say the water, the brush are running say about this deep or the grass is running about this deep, you could take that single thumper right there and run it right up to that hole and kill it. And that blade will ride right overhead just like that. It'll go straight down. Make sure you give it some slack, because if you don't, it's going to want to ride to you. You won't get that natural fall out of it, and that blade will just spin right over top of head. It'll fall just like that. Fall straight down in the brush. Real good way of doing it. I will explain trailers in another episode, because I also keep my trailers just as simple as I keep my blades. I use one trailer. So that's, and no, it's not a grub. It's more of an old school way of doing it. But I just want to run this by you guys, give you an idea. When do you use the single thumpers? Especially if you're night fishing. Oh man, night fishing, I'd get that dude out right there. I mean, if I just had my standard 3/8 and halves with me, that's the one I would throw at night. With a black trailer, just to keep it going. But you know what? In the springtime, I also like taking single thumpers like this in the springtime, especially with black skirts. And I'll put different color trailers back here, like blue, brown, green pumpkin. There's a lot of different color trailers you could put on the back of that black skirt. It'll work just fine. But a lot of times I will throw it like a crawfish. So I'll throw it up into cover and I'll just slowly crawl around the cover and just let that trailer sit back there like a crawfish. And black can be used for anything. So you can change the outlook of the whole entire bait just by changing the color of the trailer. And like I said, I use one trailer. So that's all I have for that one, guys. Single thumpers, the most versatile bait that you can throw. And like I said, I keep 3/8 and half. And that's what I have in these, but almost all of these are all 3/8. And that's just a good standard size to throw the single thumper. But I hope this helps you guys. I hope it helps you understand a little bit. Again, I don't go into colors of blades because I use silver blades for everything. And these just happen to have the Tennessee diamond blades on them. Because to me, that's the most flash you can get. So that's all I got. So until next time, may the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name. And as always, fish on.